Jonny, how are you doing? Are you here and ready?
I am.
Jonny, first, let me do just a little thank you to you for being here. Um, yes, I mean, I want to introduce you. I know you can introduce yourself, but you're a wonderful coach, human, father, husband. I know you're now working with Carolyn at her school, and just thank you for being here. And I'm looking forward to listening to what you are sharing today. Um, I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Isla. Um, and wow, what an honor really to be here. I unfortunately I haven't been able to listen to everything from today. I am solo parenting today, and that's just the way of the world. And however, what an honor to be here. What an honor to be here with all of you. And also it feels a little nerve-wracking to be going after all these incredible coaches and kind of like so many people who I have learned so much from and just have so much respect for and I've looked up to in throughout my journey and my career, and it's a real honor to be here. And also to you, Isla, as well. I want to, I was thinking about this, and I remember when you sent out the email to put this into play, and I recently had the birth of my second daughter this past year, and sometimes I feel like I've been drowning in the life experience of baby and toddlerhood. And here's Isla with, her children and a full family and a full business. And she's like, let's put this together. And I was like, how did you do this? How on earth? So deep, deep respect. I bow to you and your ability to really hold and create this incredible event, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Hi everybody. My name is Jonny Roman, coach and also the executive director of the CFJ Coaching Success School with Carolyn Fryer Jones. Um, Another honor that I have to be a part of that school that had such a profound impact on my life. In a way, it follows this journey of this question that we're exploring today around the relevance of spiritual understanding in our professional lives, because uh, it it influences every aspect of my business and my life. And it seems actually, in order to really talk about this in any um, meaningful way in relationship to myself and my journey, it feels important to kind of share it a little bit in the context of my story, because I think it gives more context of how relevant this journey has been for me, and the context of spirituality and how much it has helped me. And for much of my earlier life in my teen years and into uh, my 20s and beyond, actually, I struggled a lot with a lot of mental health challenges, a lot of emotional health challenges, struggled with depression and anxiety and really low self-esteem, suicidal ideation, just a lot of uh, it felt really painful to live inside my mind and my life. And I know a lot of people have similar challenges, versions of that. And as painful and challenging as it was to navigate it, as I reflect back now, I can really say how grateful I am that I've gone through that experience, because it drove me to seek answers. It drove me to try to learn how to work with what was occurring for me and how to support myself in healing, and answers. So it absolutely contributes to the coach that I am today. And also just how I relate to myself and my life and my business. And it has a hand, this sort of journey that I've been on, spirituality has played such an important role in that journey, in finding the answers that I was looking for and the ways of relating to myself and my life that now influence pretty much every realm of my life and everything that I do as a coach and as a human, even if it's not explicit. Even if it's just, the part of the undercurrent of what I do, because it really forms the bedrock upon which all that I do, how I live my life, and how I coach. And I want to clarify, how much time do I have? Because I know we started a little late.
Just like 90 minutes to I'm just kidding.
I was like, wait a minute, what? Hold on. Okay.
I'm just kidding. Like, I don't know, whatever you feel called
20 to
to. Maybe
30.
like maybe around two, five after two,
Yeah,
two
okay. All right.
ten.
That's
You
kind
know,
of okay.
yeah, you're.
Just
I
wanted
mean,
to,
I don't want to cut you off, so
yeah, yeah.
complete your.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I know, and everyone's been here all day as well, so I want to be respectful and just want some clarity, just because the timing is a little
Yes.
off. So,
Yes. Yes.
um, all good. So, what I wanted to talk about today were three of the primary principles that were kind of born from my relationship with spirituality that I learned on my journey that really are infused into every coaching conversation that I have, whether spirituality is part of the conversation or not, and are infused into really every corner of my life. I think of them as anchors in my personal and professional life that really keep me centered and grounded. And if I get off center, they're part of the tools that I use to find my way back to center. I want to pause on that for a moment because I think how I learned to think about myself and my life was this idea of like, if this is my center and this is off center, uh, my early life when I was really struggling with depression and anxiety and things like that, my center of gravity in a way was really what I would call off center. Off center meaning I was stuck in depression. I was in, a lot of insecurity, etc. And this living sort of in this space was more of my consistent and persistent way of being. And of course, I'd have moments where I would find my center, where I would feel grounded, empowered, etc. However, that's not where I lived the majority of my experience of my life. Uh, if any of you are Tony Robbins fans, he calls it your emotional home, like the place, the emotional space inside that you default back to most often. And my emotional home was off-centered, was that very insecure place inside. And having gone through my healing journey and spiritual growth, at really finding this place of centeredness inside, of emotional stability, a more empowered emotional home inside that I do live in more consistently and persistently. Um, I, I still get knocked off all the time, probably every day on some level. I get knocked off and off center in some fashion. I get triggered. I get insecure, etc. I get angry now having a toddler. That definitely shows up more often. Um, I'm aware that my job is to support myself in coming back to center as quickly as possible. Um, because this is my emotional home. This is now my center of gravity. And so as I get knocked off, I'm going to really work and support myself to come back to center as quickly as possible because this is where I want to live most often. And so the three principles, if you will, and these are different than as I say that, these are different than the three principles that I'm sure you probably heard a bunch about today. These are my three principles that are sort of part of my underpinnings of the spiritual philosophy that I think is infused in so much of my life. Uh, a lot of which I'm sure you've heard about the University of Santa Monica. A lot of this um, started there as a part of my journey. Um, and I'm sharing these because having these as the foundation are really what make it so much easier for me to move from off center and come back to center uh, in a much shorter time than it used to be. When I was living here, this is, where I was for weeks, months at a time. Now it's hours at most, a couple of days if it's really bad. And I can always find my way back inside. So the first one that I want to talk about is love. And on my journey of spiritual understanding and learning, one of the first principles that I learned was that at our core, the core essence of all of us is love and loving. We can see this most easily in babies. Um, because as babies, we are the closest to the purity of that essence. For anyone, I don't know if anybody has young children. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and so I've been really kind of in the presence of that essence a lot more often recently. And as we grow, life comes at us. And all of a sudden, as life comes at us, it doesn't feel as safe to live in that space inside, in that wonderful, wonderful, vulnerable, loving that is our core essence. And so over time, we construct survival mechanisms, ways to survive, um, ways to protect ourselves. And we build these barriers, if you will, over time. And in a way, we get so good at these and we use them for so long that we forget that they are survival mechanisms, that they're not really our true core essence. They're simply constructs that we created and we just relate to them as part of our personalities. And uh, the poet Rumi has a beautiful quote that says, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." And the work that I learned to start working and practicing is to begin dissolving those barriers as best that I can to become more of who we are, to come closer to awakening to and understanding the loving essence that is inside of us. So my job to remember that anybody that I'm sitting in front of in a coaching context, for example, or just a human, is to remember that underneath all of it, whatever it is that they're sharing with me, is love. And that they, just like me, are simply working to embrace that more, to connect to that more, to find that more. And my job is to start from that premise, um, and assume that as a truth, so that I can then disconnect from any sense of, my own judgments or any sense of what I think is right or wrong, and put that to the side so that I can come back and focus on the real conversation and what's really underneath uh, all of it, whether that's their anger or their hurt or their sadness or their judgment. That underneath all of that is love, the desire to love and the desire to be loved. Uh, Now, I'm not saying that's the only way to look at things. However, what I learned is that the more I focus on that and use that as a basic premise, the easier it is for me in my own life to come back to center, and the easier it is for me to support my clients or whoever it is that I'm supporting, whether it's in a coaching professional context or just human to human. And uh, and that premise, starting from that premise, has made it so much easier for me in that regard, and alleviates some of the intensity of the burden that I was placing on myself all those years. beating myself up and being really angry at myself all sorts of other ways that I kept myself stuck in that off-centered emotional home. This lesson really anchored for me during an experience that I had at a maximum security women's prison. Um, I was volunteering with a program called Freedom to Choose that brings some of the basic principles and practices of spiritual psychology into a maximum security prison, and not only teaches them to the inmates, but also invites them to experience it as well. And so a group of practitioners will spend a weekend visiting sometimes 50, 100, sometimes more inmates. Inside the prison and work with them for a couple of days. And some of whom are lifers, some of whom were in there for very serious crimes. And so we'd have conversations about love and and seeing the loving essence and things like that. And then we'd break off into trios and we'd practice these skills, listening to each other and facilitating, et cetera. And so I was in a trio with someone and I was the facilitator, and there was someone who was in the sharing seat. And it just so happened that the woman that I was sitting across from was in for murder. And it was my job in that moment to completely ignore any of those facts and just sit and be with her and see the loving essence of her in front of me in that moment. And it was a really profound experience for me because um, I was not only was I able to kind of really disconnect and move the behavior to the side and just focus on who was in front of me, the truth of who she was in front of me. It also made it a lot easier to apply that to myself as well, and to remember that who we are is completely separate from what we've done, which again was, part of my own healing journey was just being a lot more loving and gentle with myself. So that was the first that remains pervasive throughout my time, throughout my life. The second, equally profound, that really changed my internal compass, my inner reference point of how I relate to life and how I relate to everything that happens to me, has happened, happens, and will happen, is through what's called a learning orientation to life. Learning and, well, being open to the possibility, to accepting the possibility that everything that happens in my life in and of itself is an opportunity for learning, for growth, for healing. It's an opportunity to become stronger, to become deeper. And that includes and emphasizes in a way all the things that I did not want and did not like and still do not want uh, in my life. All the things that I hated, all the traumas that I've experienced, ultimately, it was and is all for me. And one of the lessons that I learned along my spiritual journey is that, in a way, the world is designed to show me where I still have unresolved material inside. Because if I still have unresolved material inside and I'm not aware of it, then the world is doing me a service to show me where that is and where the upset is, so that I can then work on managing, resolving, healing it inside, so that it becomes complete. It moves from incomplete to complete. So everything that happens to us is ultimately for us, and the world is designed to show us the areas where opportunities remain to heal. In spiritual psychology terms, we call these stackers. Stackers are all the people, places, things, events, happenings that trigger us and bring up the upset, bring up the insecurity, the fear, the judgment, the resistance. Um, they're designed to do that. So, we would joke, for example, like in relation, if you have a partner, like a wife or a husband or a boyfriend, girlfriend, you have a live-in stacker in your world. Because there's so much upset that gets triggered inside of relationships and so what really served me is to adopt this as an actual orientation for my life to really yeah, I can be my own best stacker. Absolutely. Yes. And the world around us can show us also, because sometimes we can't see where our upsets are. We can't see where there are still places inside. We're blind to some of those blind spots that are inside. Um, and so, uh, sorry, one second. So Siri is going wild over here. Um, so looking at life, learning to look at life through this learning lens was transformational for me because it made me aware that there's always an opportunity that I can use everything, no matter what it is, for my growth, upliftment, healing, and learning. And there's so much power in that. It's such an empowering place to come from. For me, it was and has been because it's like no experience becomes pointless or meaningless if I'm willing to look for the lessons and mine it for lessons as much as I can. There's always an opportunity for me to learn from it, to grow from it. And I can bring that into my coaching, and I do all the time. Every time someone brings a challenge to me, it's not my job to sort of go into the story with them. It's to one connect with the love that's underneath all of it, and then support them in exploring opportunities that are available that they might not be able to see if they don't have if they're not looking through that lens that looking where there are lessons and what we can learn from all of this. So it's so valuable to know that there's always more. There's always more room to learn, always more room to grow. So no matter where, like if you're a coach and you're coaching someone who's like, yeah, my life is great. Everything's going really well. This just happened to me the other day. Someone in a um, high level position at a high level company, you know, um, just really there just didn't seem like there was a lot there. Not a lot of problems going on, et cetera. He had done a tremendous amount of his own inner work and leadership work, et cetera. And so, I brought in this context, like there's always more. There's always an opportunity to learn from whatever is occurring in our life. And we found something. We found something big that he wants to now work on and pivot towards. So then the third thing is asking for guidance and assistance. This is more directly spiritual. And it is really to remember that spirit, God, the universe has my back, whatever that means. It can mean many different things. Sometimes it can mean making the path much easier, and sometimes it can mean making the path more challenging and more difficult. And it's my job to ask for guidance and assistance. One of my favorite phrases is spirit meets you at the point of action. So it's my job to be in action. There's a phrase like pray as though it all is up to God, work as though it's all up to you. So before every coaching conversation I have, before every presentation, I did it even before coming in today, I center myself and I ask, Spirit, please guide and assist me. guide and assist me in being of service, to this person or the group or whoever I'm speaking to show up as my best self, to remain in a place of unattached as well as high levels of engagement. So I'm fully engaged and really present and of service. So, so those are the three things that, when I think about the relevance of spiritual understanding in my life, those are sort of three underpinnings that it feels like my entire life and my entire business are based on it. They seep into everything that I do. And it brings me to share a word about Shannon. Because I met Shannon at the University of Santa Monica. Um, the first weekend there of the school, they asked if anybody needed a ride or a place to stay. And I raised my hand because I needed a place to stay. And he didn't know me at all. We had never met before. And he raised his hand and offered me to stay at his apartment. Um, and and then subsequently let me stay there probably 20 or 30 weekends over the 3 years that I went back and forth, because I flew in. So I didn't, and I didn't want to pay for a hotel. I couldn't afford it at the time. Um, and and he graciously gave me a home to stay in. Um, and I was reviewing some of my notes from that first weekend, and I went there and I had a real intention to work on something really challenging, really past trauma of mine that felt really vulnerable. And I remember being in, I don't know, the first or second trio with him, and I was sharing about what I went there to share about. And afterwards, he showed me what he had written down as an intention that he had moving into, after he listened to me, and I wrote it in my notes, and it said, to be of the most service possible to Jonny. And we had just met. And and so to me, like, Shannon embodies all three of these so much. He has the most profound loving essence, and the biggest heart, and he's so willing to share that. And that was just, one of the many examples that I experienced over my time um, uh, being with him, and being a friend. Um, and then I have seen him walk through this health challenge that he is going through right now, and really I see him ask for guidance and assistance, really using this as an opportunity for his spiritual growth and deepening. And I see it because I get to see him often, because he supports the coaches at the CFJ Coaching Success School. So I know he's really mining this for spiritual depth and growth. And it's just beautiful. I feel blessed to call him a friend, to call him a brother, and I feel blessed to be a part of this, to be of service to him in some small way. Um, and so to complete, I wanted to uh, share a poem that that I learned about a number of years ago, and I recently rediscovered, and I think it speaks to a lot of this. And it's very short, and then I will complete. It's called "I Asked For." I asked for strength, and God gave me difficulties to make me strong. I asked for wisdom, and God gave me problems to solve. I asked for prosperity, and God gave me brain and brawn to work. I asked for courage, and God gave me danger to overcome. I asked for love, and God gave me troubled people to help. I asked for favors, and God gave me opportunities. I got nothing that I asked for, but everything that I hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. I am among all men or women most richly blessed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jonny. Thank you so much. I was during your share, I was just taken back to being at USM, and at USM as students, we go through, we have readers who are like our guide. I don't know, I don't, guide isn't the right word, but we are, as readers, we support a small group of students for the whole year. And we read their homework, read their reflections and their learnings. And I was Shannon's reader for a whole year. And I got to like just watch this beautiful human deepen inside of his own awareness, and just that dedication to using everything. I love that you were saying that, like using everything for growth and upliftment and healing, no exceptions. Like just really full ownership, full personal responsibility. And I just totally like, I fell in love with Shannon, kind of holding space for him and witnessing that. And I felt so inspired by him every weekend, getting to read his work, and just deepen in my own dedication and my own appreciation for looking in that direction of our innate well-being and our spiritual connection, how healing that is in and of itself.